shall try to be serious this week and try to be sensible. Yeah, so anyway.
That'll be a first.
It's a first for everything, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. A great light shone. Yeah. Is anybody afraid of the dark? I used to be afraid of the dark when I was a child. I used to hide. I used to hide under the bedclothes and have to have the light on. And yeah, father's jobs are to go around saying, switch that light up, obviously. I got a little sympathy. But darkness makes up 50% of nearly every day. I suppose there's other summer, winter. But generally speaking, the earth rotates around the sun, and 50% of the time the sun's shining on that bit, and it's not on that bit, and the other way around. So, and it was pretty much an unchallenged fact of life until Messrs Swain and Edison came along in 1879 and decided to try their hand at inventing a light bulb. But we often don't think about it, but we all have a relationship with the darkness. And some people it can be joy, and other people it can be fear. Some people try to avoid it. Yeah. Some people are quite happy sitting in the dark with the lights turned low, with the dimmer switch, doing all the hard work of hiding all the dust and the stuff that they should have tidied up. It hides all our imperfections. There's a reason that dimmer switches were invented. I'm always, if you're taking somebody out for a romantic meal, they have dim lights in restaurants. It's not because they've not paid the bill, it's because they want your date to look more attractive. Turn the lights down. Sometimes darkness isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it can be familiar, comfortable and predictable. You walk into a room and see the state of it and think, no, not having that, so you switch the light off and everything disappears. And darkness can be very kind to us when we don't want to see the mess that's there. But darkness can also be unsettling. It plays tricks on our imaginations. The coat on the back of the chair suddenly becomes a figure sat there in the dark, going back towards us. Yeah? Or a sound in the bathroom suddenly becomes a bathroom ghost, and it can be quite disturbing. But there are times when darkness is just dangerous, not because it's evil in itself, because you can't see what's really there. I can remember once I went on holiday, I think it was Cumbria, it was somewhere up that neck of the woods. Yeah, and we went to Robinson's farm, and it was absolutely in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, and the only way I got to it was on my 3 words, because that's sort of the sat nav. And it was, and I went there late at night, because obviously, I'm really committed to holidays. And I'm driving around these roads at sort of 10 o'clock at night, and everything's fine. And then the next morning, when I got up and I went out, I saw the sheer drops down these roads. I thought, I'd have probably paid a little bit more attention if I'd known they were there. But yeah, but darkness can hide things that's there. And Matthew speaks out about those who are sitting in darkness. And they're just sitting in darkness. It's not saying they're walking through it or stumbling. They're not fighting. They're just sitting there, settled as if darkness would become part of the furniture. When you sit in darkness, you stop noticing it. Your eyes adjust and your expectations lower. You know where the obstacles are, and it's just comfortable, isn't it? And darkness, when you sit in it long enough, becomes familiar. It softens our reality. When the lights are off, everything looks better than it really is. And the stains don't show, and the clutter's not there, and the dust politely retreats to the shadows when it can on the shelves. And darkness quietens the mind, and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, but if we stay there long enough, and your imagination starts doing laps, and so as I said before, every creep becomes a threat, and every shadow becomes a shape, and even the unknown becomes something to fear. Darkness is a way of turning a silent space into suspense. Darkness hides what you don't want to see. And sometimes the reason you don't walk into a messy room because you don't want to see the mess that's there. And spiritually we can do the same. We can sit in darkness because it hides the things that we'd rather not confront. Our habits, our wounds, our compromises, our pride. Darkness makes us unaware of what is around us. You can sit in a room perfectly content, blissfully watching the television with the spider out, with the light out, like I've done, and then suddenly somebody switches the light on and you see there's a great big hairy 8-legged spider sat on the settee watching the TV with me. True story. Yeah. All of a sudden, all my contentment suddenly changed because I have a really irrational fear of spiders. You would think 6'2", little tiny spider, legs. Yeah. You think, no, I'm out of the room. I'm gone. Yeah. Don't like spiders. But so darkness makes us unaware of what's around us. Darkness can feel safer than light because light is honest Light is revealing, and light shows us the mess and the cracks that we've ignored. Darkness lets us stay the way we are. Light asks us to change. Darkness can become a place of resignation. When Matthew says the people were sitting in darkness, it suggests that they'd stopped doing anything else. No movement, no searching, no open door. Just acceptance of how things are. This is how I am. This is how life will always be. And our Old Testament reading in Isaiah by Tony was the primary source of Matthew's quote in Isaiah 9, 1 and 2, where Isaiah talks of a great light. And Isaiah spoke into a nation at a time of despair, fear and spiritual confusion. And he said this great light was a promise of hope, deliverance, a new beginning, and God breaking into human history. And Matthew sees Jesus' ministry in Galilee and says, this is it. This is what Isaiah prophesied. This is the great light that the prophet said that's going to break into our history. So, I suppose the question is really, what kind of light is Jesus? What did Jesus come to shine his light upon? You know, and a couple of things, or maybe three. Yeah, Jesus shines his light onto who God really is. People in Jesus' day had all kinds of ideas about God. A distant judge, a tribal deity, a rule keeper, a scorekeeper. But Jesus steps into the world and says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. If you've seen me, you've seen God. And his light reveals who God is. It reveals the compassion of God, the forgiveness of God, the welcoming of God, the patience of God, and the relentless loving of God. Jesus shines a light on the heart of God so that we don't have to guess what God is like. Jesus shines his light on who we really are, not who we pretend to be, or not who we wish we were, who we actually are. His light reveals our brokenness, our blind spots, and our pride, our wounds and our need for grace. But he never exposes to humiliate, he exposes to heal. And he shines his light on the truth so that nobody can stop, so we can stop hiding and start becoming whole. And Jesus shines his light on the darkness where we live. Darkness isn't just evil, isn't just evil. It's confusion, it's fear, it's shame, it's despair, it's loneliness, it's the quiet habits that slowly drain the life from us. And Jesus shines his light on it. And the inaccurate things, the feelings that we allow to shape our lives, the inaccurate things that we believe, the patterns that harm us, the things we've normalised and the dangers we can't see. He doesn't come to shine a light to frighten us, he shines to protect us. Jesus shines his light on the way forward. The light doesn't just reveal the mess, but it shows a path. Jesus is described as the Word made flesh. And the psalmist said, the Word of God is a lamp to his feet and a light to his path. So in other words, it shines down at our feet so we can see where we are now, our next step, and it shows us the direction. It shows us a better way, the life-giving choice. It is the lamp to our feet and the light to our path, guiding us moment by moment, leading us into a bigger story. So Jesus shines his light on God's grace. This is the brightest part of all. He reveals the forgiveness where we expected judgment, welcome where we expected rejection, and hope where we might have expected despair. New beginnings where we expected dead ends. Jesus shines a light on God who doesn't give up on everyone. And Jesus also shines his light on the way the world could be. He reveals the kingdom of God, which focuses on justice, peace, mercy, reconciliation, healing and joy. And Jesus shines his light where the darkness can't win. And in one sentence, I suppose, Jesus shines his light on God, on our darkness and on our path, on grace and on the world, and God making it new. And we all have an invitation to engage with this light. There comes a moment for all of us when we realise that sitting in darkness is no longer meant for us. Maybe it felt comfortable for a while. Maybe it hid the things we didn't want to face. Maybe it was simply familiar. But sooner or later we get the sense that darkness isn't where we're meant to be. And the good news is that the light has already come. Jesus doesn't wait for us to tidy ourselves up to find our own way out. He steps into the shadows that we live in our fears, our doubts, our regrets, our unanswered question, and he shines light as he's gentle enough not to overwhelm us, but strong enough to change us. Engaging with this light isn't about having everything sorted, it's about being willing to see and let him show us the truth, and to let him guide our next step, and to let him warm the cold places in our hearts, and let him reveal grace where we expected judgment. And the invitation this morning is to stop sitting in darkness and to take one step forward to one who brings clarity and hope, and to step forward into the light that never goes out. Amen.
Amen.